Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Deez, this is my workshop, and today we're going to work on a really small little project. This is going to be a copy of many of these out there, I've seen them, but they're going to be just little clamps. The kind that you screw together on both sides, and you can bring in and out two bars or clamping mechanisms, so to speak. And you can adjust them either way. You can clamp at the tip tighter, or you can clamp in the back, but that's what we're going to be working on today. I'm going to make them, they're going to be really small, just because that's kind of what I want to do today, is make something small. And I'm going to try to make two of them, so 4 clamping pieces out of this bar stock or angle iron that I had. It's 1/4 inch thick, and I think what I'd like to do is cut the remaining piece of this chunk off and see if I can't make it out of those. So let me bring you down here, we'll draw this up, see what we're dealing with, and we'll get started with this project. So like I said, I want to use this chunk. I'm going to square off this other bar, and I'll save that for another day, this flat piece here. We're going to try to use up the rest of this chunk here. So what I want to do is cut off the remaining piece and try to make this other flat piece as long as I can for something in the future. So we'll kind of draw that a little bit here, you know, something like that. Get a marker. Yeah, so we'll want to cut that off right about there. And that's going to leave us with a piece that is roughly 1.5 inches. Yeah, 1.5 inches wide. We'll write that down. So that's what we'll do. We'll get started with cutting this off, and then we'll have a piece 1.5 inches wide. And let's go ahead and draw this up so you know kind of where my brain's going with this. There we go. We got this all drawn up. There's our clamps. This is not the scale, but I was doing some measurements based off of the part that I have here and how much material I'm going to work with. They're going to be really small clamps, but I'm going to try to make these rods, the threaded rods, 2 inches long each. We can always cut that down if that's too long. And we're going to do a 10/24 thread. The total thickness of each of these will be about 375 thou. I can get 4 of them. and then the heads of the knurled portion will be 375 each, square kind of. It'll be a round, of course, but we'll do that. Total length will be 1.5 inches. Total thickness, if you look at this dimensionally, it'll be 1/4 inch thick, because that's what the bar stock or the angle plate that I have is. So it'll be whatever that nominal size is after I mill down all those components flat. And then we'll thread and tap that for 1024. I already said that. And that's the basic design. So let's get on with this project. I think this will be a fun one. Simple little clamps, but should be satisfying to make. Of course, I forgot to hit record. Big fool. But we got that cut off. Cut off nicely. So this will be the piece that we're going to work with. We'll get this to the mill. We'll shave off this. Get rid of this protrusion up here. We don't need that. I suppose I could cut the hunk of that off in the bend, so I'll do that. But this will go back on the shelf for future project. Now we have some flat 1/4 inch plate for something if we have a new project. That'll save on some end mill usage. Cut that little corner off of there. All right, now we got a little cutting action there, but regardless, we got this little nub cut off. Rather than mill all that down, I thought, let's go ahead and just cut that down to save on my end mill. So we'll get rid of that. Here's our flat stock. We can use that for a new project someday. And this is going to be our starting piece. I think what I'm going to do, I'm not going to worry so much about the thicknesses other than get this squared off, put it in the mill, and then I'm going to face mill the side. So I guess I am going to attempt to square it up as best I can. It's not crucial for what this is. It's a clamping mechanism. But I do want to start with a square piece, and then we'll go from there. So let's go over to the mill and get this thing squared up. We're going to use a pin in order to square that up as best we can. And we'll start with squaring off this edge over here. Get this tightened down. And we'll go from there. Since I have that set, I'm going to go ahead and square off this edge, but then I'll take this out and I'm going to go ahead and face mill this off after that. We'll do both sides. Then we'll come back and finish end milling all the edges. I think we finally made it through to some clean material. Let's reposition this and we'll continue going around.
We have our part milled down square, cleaned it all up. It's not going to be the same originating, the same dimensions that when we started with. So let's go ahead and measure this and write it down so that we got a reference. And we can modify our plans a little bit accordingly. Total thickness is still 1/4 inch, 250 thou. A little over, so that's going to work out good. So we're still 1/4 inch. The total length is 1.97 or 1.796. What's the other side? 1.793. We're going to average that 1.795. 1.795. That'd be these two dimensions. And then the shorter side is 1.435. What's the other side? 1.435. So that's what we're going to go with. Now, I want to cut this into 4 equal parts because that's going to be the parts that that will make up. Yeah, I want to cut this into 4 equal parts, but I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut it in half to start with. We'll make 2 of one side and 2 of the other. And what I mean by that is one end's going to be threaded and one end won't be threaded. And that way when we screw our parts in, we can get some clamping power. So I think what we'll do is cut this in half to start with, and then the next step after we cut it in half, we'll drill and tap our holes, because 2 are going to be the same, and then we'll do the same here. 2 will be the same, because again, opposite ends will be threaded for both pieces. So let's do that first. We're going to cut this thing in half, and then we'll drill our holes for the threaded portion.
Well, everyone, you know what this channel's about. Making mistakes, learning from mistakes, and continuing on with projects. Well, somewhere along the line, I wasn't paying attention and my measurements got off when I was working with my piece to drill and tap them. You know, I've got a through hole and I have a tapped hole. And so I was doing some test fitting once I thought, oh great, I'm moving along really good. I just simply got my holes off, my spacing off. I was not paying attention, and I basically scrapped one of the parts, maybe both, but the holes don't line up. So I have a through hole, and that should line up with one of the threaded holes. Of course, that's easy enough. But then I have another through hole that was supposed to line up with the other threaded hole, and it doesn't. So I thought, well, I'll get clever and I'll elongate the hole for, you know, for the other side to cheat. Now, I can make this work that way, but it's not right. So I'm gonna stop here for today because I'm a little frustrated at myself. Get this, I mean, they do come together with that elongated hole. I used an end mill. I just did that off camera because I was so frustrated. But they do screw together. So I could make these into clamps. I could still do that. It's just the front one maybe, or the back one wouldn't, you know, would have the normal through hole like I wanted, and the other side is going to have an elongated hole. Either way, it is going to clamp. So I can still proceed with these, but I'm not real happy with that mistake. I'm going to sleep on it. I'm going to stop today. I'll work on this project again later, but probably tomorrow. But I'm going to sleep on it. I may go ahead and just finish these out and make these into the clamps that I was going to, but I just got those holes way off. So anyway, we make mistakes, we learn from them, and we move on and we correct it, and we either redo the part or we continue on and figure it out. We adapt. So I'm going to take a break here. I'll bring you back. For you, it won't be long, but for me, I just want to stop and think about this and decide how I want to proceed. Well, everybody, today is tomorrow, and I had a lot of time to think about this project and how I want to proceed. I think I'm going to go two different directions. I'm going to finish this first iteration. I'm not going to make two out of these. I'm not going to cut them in half. Now that I say that, I actually might do that. Just cut these two in half and I'll have two small clamps. I'll probably just use these cap head screws for those, and I'll have two sets of small clamps. Not really the way I wanted to end this project, but I will finish this out because it is functional. It's just I screwed it up. Now, I've got a couple options. I can use this bar stock. It's a little under 1.5 inches wide, and I could cut a sliver of this off as thick as I need. I can thread and drill and tap that. So there's plenty of material here I could work with, or I can use this plate. I almost hate to cut it up. However, it's pretty thick. This is, it's over 1/2 inch thick. This is, I take that back. It's 1/2 inch thick plate. So this 1/2 inch thick plate is 6 inches wide. So I could make two clamps out of this 1/2 inch plate. So I'm thinking I might do that. I'll cut, what I would do is determine the thickness of the clamps that I want, cut a strip of this plate off, and I would make four pieces, and I could mill all of the sides and edges and everything as one long strip of metal, and then part them off and finish the single edge, or two edges if it's a middle piece, and have some thicker starting material for clamps. So I think I might do that. I like the 1/2 inch thickness. I think this bar stock is going to be a little bit much to work with when I got this plate here. I don't know what else I'm going to use this for. I'm sure I'll cut this and wish I hadn't at some point, but I can always get more. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to cut a strip of this off, and we're going to make two clamps that I'm hoping are polished and more well thought out and produce a better result. So let's get started today, and hopefully we can come up with some. So let's get started today, and hopefully we end up with some really nice clamps, and then we'll also finish out the original ones that we started with. Maybe a two-part series if this thing drags on, but we'll see. Well, we're going to do two things. First thing, I want to finish these, and I'm not going to make threaded rod for these. I am going to cut these in half, and we're just going to make two different clamps. And you can see the hole that I elongated. I just used an end mill. It's a very thin wall. This isn't what I wanted, but it's what we have. So we're going to work with these two pieces, and we're going to finish at least these clamps out, and then we'll also mark this out, and we'll want to cut this piece as well. So first thing we want to do is cut these two in half. This is 647 thou. Head over to the bandsaw. We'll get these parts cut out. I'm going to go ahead and cut this, but we're going to focus on finishing these two pieces, and we are just going to use just regular standard cap head screws in order to make these clamps. They're going to be pretty rudimentary, but they will function, and then we'll get the blank cut out for the better build, thicker, more robust version of these clamps. So let's head over to the bandsaw. We've got our pieces cut. This is going to be the new and improved version. Set that aside, and we have these cut out. I think what I want to do, I'm going to try to mill these down because I want to clean up these surfaces. Since I've got a side that's already milled for each, I think what I'll do is mount these up on a block and hopefully be able to mill all of these to the same dimension. And then the final step will be to put a chamfer or a slight angle on each of these. I'm not sure how I'll do that yet, but I'll try to set those up using angle block or something, and I'll be able to mill just a slight chamfer on those. And that should finish these small little clamps out. That's going to be the initial thought, and I think they'll be useful, but it didn't quite turn out like I wanted. But we'll see. This will be a new and improved one. Whether we have enough time to get to it in this video, we shall see. Let's get over to the mill, figure out how to mount this stuff, put this in the mill, and get started cleaning these up. Well, we've got these mounted in here. I have some round stock that's actually the height that I need to get all of these pieces in here the way that I want them. So we're going to mill these down to the smallest piece so they're all uniform. And we'll see how this goes. I don't know how well this setup's going to work, but we're going to go with it and see what we come up with. Well, we got these pieces cleaned up, and you want to know what? If they go together and they seem to function well, by golly, I'm going to say I actually resurrected these things. Sure, it's not what I originally intended, but I think they look the part and they may work. Let's test fit a couple of these and see how they turned out. Make sure I got everything right. Tell ya. So that one, if it works, should go here. And this one, if it works, should go here. So that one can just slide up and down, and this one will bring it up and down as needed. Maybe I'll try the other one. Not quite lining up like I had hoped. Let me flop one of these out for the other. Regardless, we can clean them up if I really... I probably will, actually. So let's change these out and see how these line up. I doubt it will be much better, but we are making some progress here. I think what we'll do is put these together and just mill the ends flat so they're matched. But you're getting the idea. Not perfect, but they're coming together. See what this one does. Oh, need a couple more. All right, let's go back to the mill. Do a little bit more work, and then we're going to close this project out this way. I'm going to make another set of these using the thicker stuff, but for this project, actually it's turning out to be more of a success. I don't see any reason to make my own cap head screws for this right now, but the bigger one, I will certainly do that. Let's go to the mill and clean these up, and we'll do a recap. Well, everybody, I'm going to get you in here for a closer look. Honestly, these turned out better than I thought they were going to turn out. So this project is going to complete with the original design. Dimensions aren't quite right. I didn't take into account that I was going to flip parts over, and I didn't have my holes drilled exactly center. It's really tricky to get that stuff down. I know I got the DRO. I know there'll be some comments about, you know, and I need to learn how to work with my materials and not pull them out of the... Once they're mounted, I need to work with them and move them as little as possible, because every time you move something, you get off center. You're never going to be perfect, and it shows with these. However, these are still functional, and they turned out well enough. They're not great, but I did learn a lot, and I learned what to do for the next set. That'll be its own video, but I'm going to make some thicker ones. I'm going to use this piece that I cut off earlier in this video, and we'll make some heavier duty clamps, and we'll try to fix the mistakes I made with this set. But to close out this video, we'll get you in here close. You can see, you know, I ended up elongating this hole because they didn't line up. I clearly botched that. I just wasn't paying attention when I drilled all that stuff. But let's assemble these, and you'll see, you know, the final products, and you'll see, you know, where I made mistakes and what I need to learn. So this go in here. This one will go on this side, and I don't know, maybe the slot is a good thing for, you know, being able to adjust it a little. It's not a bad thing necessarily, it's just not what I originally intended. But you can see this back piece, you can adjust in and out. Both pieces will slide. You can clamp something. You can get some purchase on the front side of it. You can actually get some purchase on the back side of it. Get some clamping power. Let's see. Let's clamp this. Now let's clamp this. Let's say I need to clamp this thing down for some reason. Two of them together. Who knows? And then come in here. You can run your screw in. clamp it down, tighten both sides, one side, whatever it takes, and now you got that clamped in there. You can clamp a couple things together. So the proof of concept or the function does work, just not perfect. And I'll show you, we'll get you close so you can see just what I'm talking about. I did mill the ends so they matched up. I thought that was kind of necessary, but you can see right there, because of how I drilled each piece off center or had to flip them over, they became, you know, off because of the way I had to work with the work pieces. They don't line up 100%. So it's okay. They'll still work, but they aren't perfect. I did learn a lot though. But I did mill off the front nose of these so they would match up. But because of that, one side's deeper than the other. But that's also okay. Let's put this other one together. And again, this one's a little bit worse, I think, than the other one. But we did mill the backside flat. You can see they're offset because the holes don't line up, both the front. And then you can also see the nose, how one side's thicker than the other. But regardless, they are functional. I have 2 clamps, really small. They worked out. I'm going to close the project though. This is fun. I did learn a lot, like I said. I'm going to improve on that and make some bigger ones, but for now, this is a fun little project. Pretty neat. I encourage you to, if you're looking for simple lathe and mill projects, you know, give these things a shot. Well, everybody, we're going to close the video out here. We ended up resurrecting and saving the parts that I messed up. They still aren't perfect. I still learned a lot on how I would improve and make my next set of these clamps. But these are cool little clamps, much like those big wooden clamps for woodworkers that you see. But I could see these being handy. Another shop-made tool, pretty easy project to make. I was able to actually use my homemade 45-degree angle blocks. That worked out pretty good. And I learned a lot too that I'd want to change on the next one, which I will tackle again someday. But as you can see, we've got our little clamps made. And it was a fun project. I hope you tackle one yourself. I hope you enjoyed. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And I hope to see you on the next one. Thanks for watching, everybody.